to welcome Aileen O'Toole here today to talk to us about creating, maintaining and living a personal brand. Aileen, how are you?
I'm grand, thank you. And thank you for that lovely introduction. And hello, fellow indies. I hope today is going well for you. So I want this to be an interactive session. So I'll be encouraging you to participate. If everybody has their mobile phones at hand, we're going to do a few Mentimeters where we can engage and get some answers back on the screen. But I'd also like us to have a chat. So I have a few slides, but I'm not going to get you suffer by death by PowerPoint. So I'm just going to flip on my slides in a minute and hopefully share my screen. Is everybody seeing that now? Hopefully.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Okay, so I think this is a subject that you as freelancers need to consider. It's probably more important for you than for sort of regular staff members in any organization. So I want to kind of walk you through personal branding, what it is, what it isn't. I also want to give you some examples, but I'm hoping you can also give me examples as well of people who do this well or who do it badly. And then I'm going to give you some tips and tricks about how to develop a personal brand. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is I want you to go to your phone. I want you to enter mentimeter.com. And if you take a note of this number, because if you're asked to enter the code, it's 59337893. Has everybody got that code? So the question is, what word or words pop into your head when you consider the phrase personal branding? So I'm going to go over to Mentimeter. Hopefully you've taken note of that, and I'm going to share my screen. And as you put in your results, we'll see them back on the screen. So the number again, 59337893. So I'm just going to give it another 20 seconds or so. Okay, I leave it at that. I mean, I think it's really interesting, the words that have been used, and all of them are relevant to this subject, but I like the two that were used strongly. It's distinctive personality. I think that captures a lot of what I'm going to say about personal branding and the essence of it. Other phrases, influencer, absolutely. Less is more. Couldn't agree more. Not sure. Sorry, I just turned my phone off. But anyway, some of the key phrases. Authentic is one that I'm going to come back to time and time again. Reputation is another, and then we've got some words that are about the execution of that, which is photography, visual brand, communications, and so on. But it's really the sum of a number of parts. So I'm going to just flip back to my presentation for a moment, and I'll talk you through that. So thank you very much for doing that. Okay, so back to the presentation. So first and foremost, what isn't personal branding? And I suppose this is how it's seen. It's a lot of noise, particularly on social media, a lot of what I regard as shameless self-promotion without really thinking about the audience and what they might be interested in. That said, proper use of social media is important in terms of building awareness and visibility. So what is it? It's about building a presence, and I'm going to talk a bit about presence and what that means in a moment. But it's conveying your identity and distinctiveness. What makes you different? You are what makes you different, for a start, but also what else that you do or that you say will convey that good impression that you want to take, convey. Being true to your values, and we'll talk a bit about that in a moment, and communicating the value that you offer. Effectively, you are the brand. It's all of you, not just your professional life, but perhaps straying into your personal life as well. So I like this quote that personal branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So getting a good sense of what that might be, and there are ways you can do that, which I'll talk about in a while. That's one definition, but also it's absolutely vital to developing, influence on whoever decides on whether to do business with you, and your personal brand and how you come across is core to that. Okay, there's a book about executive presence, and I've copied from this book about what it means, what presence mean. First and foremost, it's gravitas. It's how you act and what you know. It's about how you convey your confidence, your credibility, and authenticity. And it's very much about emotional intelligence. Actually, could everybody put their mic on mute, please? We're getting some feedback. So it's also about communications, but in fact, communications are only, according to this who wrote this book, it's only 28% of what you need to consider about based on her research. That's important, nevertheless, and it's about connecting and inspiring and conveying that sense of identity and distinctiveness. How you look, this is quite controversial, is also, and particularly for women, I'm afraid women and men judge other women by what it is they're wearing, how they present themselves. So it can't be ignored. But it isn't, the most important aspect of this is gravitas, and having that presence, and the most important factor in developing your personal brand. So values, personal values, we've probably, some people here don't spend a lot of time doing corporate values, but having your own sense of individual or personal values is very grounding. It enables you to be authentic. So we saw that word coming up when we did the Mentimeter, and it allows you to focus on what is important. And basically you are the differentiator, and you can use your values to good effect by doing that. So this is this. I'm going to talk about a lady called Claudia Hughes in a moment, because I've used her as an example. But she does a lot of leadership coaching and a lot of work around values. And this is one of her slides. She's a pal, so she allows me to use her slides. And so really, if you're driven by ego, you have to be all the time thinking of, how do I prove myself? Am I good enough? And you have that thought process around self-doubt and fear all the time, trying to prove yourself. Whereas the opposite of that is if you have a values-driven approach, and you can use the gifts that you have to actually make a difference. So people who have very strong values are often very committed to what it is that they will and won't do. And I give the example of Claudia in this. She one of her values is impact. So she won't take a piece of business where she doesn't think she'll make a difference or create impact. So she lives that value day to day. This is another example, again, of a client of Claudia's, and I'm going to use the phrase. I'm going to use her name is Ruth. She's not Ruth. She is another. Hopefully, nobody identifies with her. But Claudia tells a story of being asked by the company that she was working to coach Ruth, because she could go places. And so anyway, when the coaching arrangement is very much individual based, well, that was the brief from the company. Ruth is the client, and ultimately she has to support the client. And it became very, very obvious at a very early stage that Ruth wasn't interested in what the company was interested in, that she had put on weight and she was working non-stop around the clock, and she wasn't feeling comfortable in her skin. So actually, as a result of the coaching, and she was a swimmer, by the way, that's why the pool is so important to this story. She used to do competitive swimming, and had given that up because she just couldn't squeeze it into her life. But as a result, or supported by the coaching session, she left her job, went to another role where she was going to get more time, took up swimming, met her future husband, all within 12 months of doing that. So by defining her values, she realized that where she was working was not a fit, that she needed to go and get another job. And that is the power of values. Okay, so I'm going to ask another Mentimeter question here. Sorry, and it's the same code, by the way, so you should still be in it. What public figures do you believe have presence? So think of, politics, film, music, what public figures do you believe have presence? And we'll hop over to Mentimeter now to get the answer. So the question, sorry, I have to just hold it a second. It should. Yeah. So what public figures do you believe have presence? And we're going to have a chat about this in a moment. So I'll stop talking and let you do the talking. That in. So the biggest name we have is Barack Obama. And I'd like whoever put that up, and Obama is there, Michelle Obama. So the Obamas are rock stars according to this poll.
Sure are. I was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
That's Yvonne, is it?
Yeah, I put down Obama. Yeah, I think he was the first name that sprung to mind for me because of how he holds a room, how he carries himself when he's communicating. He doesn't rush. He's very succinct. He considers what he's saying. And obviously he's a very intelligent man. So people want to hear what he's got to say as well. But he's also very charming and charismatic. Yeah, I could go on.
No, that's absolutely great. Anybody who put Michelle Obama in there, like to pop in and say why?
I did, because I knew everyone would say Barack. And I thought Michelle deserves as much credit as he does. Yeah. Similar reasons. She excellent communicator. She has the emotional intelligence. Ticks all those 3 boxes of gravitas, communication, and appearance.
Great.
And knows what messages she wants to get across when she's delivering them. So
yeah. Okay, I'd like now to go to whoever said Elon Musk, because that fascinates me. Who?
That was me, Aileen.
Una, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just feel that he's like always a very, very strong personality who has just exploded onto onto the world stage now as really kind of a character who is not even sort of divisive anymore, but just becoming universally hated, I would say.
Okay, so it's not a positive role model; it's a negative one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just one final one, Bob Geldof, because I think that anybody, why put in Bob Geldof?
That was me, Aileen. Brian. Just the integrity and passion that he exudes all the time, all the way back from wearing pajamas on the Late Late when I was a kid to Live Aid and all his charity work since. He's always got this integrity about him that I think, he says what he feels and he means it and he walks the walk.
Okay, so that's super. Okay, I've got a short list of my own, so I'm going to share that now. Just a second, I have to switch screens. And derided them considerably. She also, throughout the pandemic, she didn't take her lead. She was very, very clear about what she was trying to achieve. She imposed probably one of the harshest lockdowns that the world has seen. It's only in the last 2 or 3 months that New Zealand is open.
Yeah, there's no bathroom upstairs.
Sorry? No, sorry. So she's on my shortlist. Patrick Collison is on my shortlist too, because he's also, because of recent events, he's had to let people go, but he did so in a very emotionally intelligent way, and set out his stall and admitted that he misread the internet market, the market for his services, and why. I put up a post about this on Friday on LinkedIn, just contrasting Elon Musk to Patrick Collison. I shared the Patrick Collison email, and my LinkedIn went into meltdown. I've got, I don't know, over 200 200 likes or interactions. I've about 30 comments, and it's gone kind of viral on me, and people agreeing that he's a leader. Collison is a leader. I'd put in Michael O'Leary, and probably controversial choice, but I think he knows, he's comfortable in his skin. He knows what he's about. You mightn't necessarily like what he does, but he has helped, and no matter how much we all give out about Ryanair and Michael O'Leary and what he's at, he's one clever cookie, and he absolutely is, has a very strong personal brand in many respects. He commands attention, and he's built an enormous loyalty about Ryanair, despite the fact that we all give out about it. Finally, Christine Lagarde, who's president of the ECB and is an amazing leader. And she shows total empathy whenever she speaks to an audience. She also does a lot to encourage other women in across the world. And she's not just parroting economic or monetary policy. She addresses a range of topics on different issues. So these are my 4 shortlists. Anybody agree or disagree? To move on, I want to just show you some examples of personal branding. I mentioned Clodagh Hughes, and she's a friend of mine, and we're involved in a movement. It's not a company, a movement called Woman Up, where we're trying to encourage more women to take up leadership roles. And anyway, so this was Clodagh's website up until relatively recently. She does what a lot of indies do. She puts her name in as a secondary message, and her company is called Motivate, and she tried to give the illusion that there's more people behind her than just her, and she subcontracts people out, but she doesn't have a team. She is her own. She is the brand, and she had to be taken on a bit of a journey by yours truly to realise that, and also by Karen Hand, who might be familiar, another name who does strategy work. Karen is a pal of hers as well. And I suppose taking her away from Motivate, there was a number of drivers around that, mainly because the fact that she wins the business because she's Clodagh Hughes, not because she's Motivate. There was another factor, though. There's another different kind of coaching. She's an executive coach and a leadership consultant. And there was this company called Motivate without the E, that got confused. She was being confused with them, and presumably they were confused with her. So that led to a decision to rebrand and to come up with a personal branding statement, which is reflected now on the website. So this is the new website. It's just gone live. There's still work to be done because, like a lot of us indies, she's a very busy lady and can't get back to finish. The website is live, but there's still a lot to do. She has to still promote it on LinkedIn, and that's waiting for a few other pieces to fall into place. But it's a clean look, but it's also got a very central message around leadership impact for transformative change. That was what she wanted to hang her whole personal brand on. Okay, so this is a lady called going to call her up there. Dr. Anita Sands. She's an Irish woman living in California, in Silicon Valley. And I met her at a function that she gave to PwC about 2 years ago, and she did a private function with the partners at PwC, and as one person I met afterwards, she scared the shit out of them, right, in terms of some of the technology changes that are coming down the line. But she's a speaker. She's on a few boards, and she's a consultant, and she's an extraordinarily strong brand. I love this thing. She says, safe to say, I'm probably one of the few board directors in the United States who hails from Termonfeck in Ireland. Okay, maybe the only one. So she turns that into a joke about herself. But what she also does is she hangs her whole media presence around authenticity and giving back and making sure she connects with people. So she does this thing called wisdom cards, really simple concept. She'll just post a quote or post a line or two that she's read from a poem or something else that's inspirational, and she peppers that onto social media. She has, quite a number of channels that she uses. She's got 13,700 that should be followers on LinkedIn, people who like her stuff, and she also has a presence on Twitter, but she uses LinkedIn very effectively. I was looking for an example of an indie who does personal branding, and I came across this lady. Don't know very much about her, but I liked what I saw. She's a digital marketing consultant, writer, speaker, and so on. And she hangs her personal brand around this empowering, ridiculously good marketing. So there's a touch of humor and difference in her tagline. And she puts herself front and center of all of the communications. And I think to be effective as a personal brand, you have to put yourself out there, and she does that. So there's other sides to this, which are, examples of, I'm calling them questionable personal branding. I don't know whether any of you tuned into this a few months ago. This guy, I think runs an agency in the UK. But anyway, he took a video of himself crying because he had to let people go, and he was accepting his own failures. So again, LinkedIn, Twitter, there's a site that tracks crap on, I think it's called LinkedIn is crap, on Twitter. And he was trending that day in the UK about this. And I suppose people were divided between, this is the most brilliant piece of personal branding I've ever seen, or this was terrible. He was taking advantage of the situation, and crying was too much. So I wouldn't mind a bit of feedback on that. Was he right to go on social media and cry about the fact that he was saying goodbye to his employees? What do you think?
I remember this, the hashtag crying CEO.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think, Maeve?
I think where he went wrong was he made it about him.
Yeah.
He was not the victim in this situation, and that really pissed people off. Yeah, anyway. And I know I've seen even worse things than that, of people like posting photographs from, like, supposedly from a funeral, of a reminder of what's important in life, and you're going, okay, but this is LinkedIn and time and place. So yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I agree, to be honest. I think I'm all for showing empathy and humanity, but I think there's a way to do it, and I don't think this would endear me to him or make me revere or look up to him as a leader.
That.
So we won't have to guess.
Yeah. So now, how do you create that personal brand? There's a very simple template that I'm going to share with you. And, I want to be known for being ... so that ... So this is something that you can apply very, very easily. And it should convey what you do and what you specialize in. And it's kind of like a guiding compass in terms of, focusing on like the work that you want to do and the work you necessarily don't want to do. And it can help you make better decisions. So it's a really simple idea. I'm going to give you 10 steps in good old digital media trick, which is the 10-step guide or the 5-step guide. So this is a 10-step guide to creating that. Is first of all, get feedback from people who know you professionally and use their words. I give this extended version of this presentation as part of my work with Woman Up. And what we do is, between sessions, we give that as a task to somebody and ask, 5 people in your network, in your company, or that you know professionally, to give you a bit of feedback on you and to come up with the words that describe you. And people are usually blown away by what comes back. because they never see themselves as others see them. So it's an easy way to do that. It can be done casually or more formally and so on, but it's really interesting to do it and to use those words. So that's the personal brand statement, which I've shown you there a few moments ago. So using that can actually help to guide your it can be a foundation stone, if you like, for your personal brand. There's something probably those of you in marketing know about brand frameworks, and it's possible to do this. I have an example coming up of how to create your own brand framework. And have a clear focus. You can't be everything to everyone. And I think as a freelancer, I know somebody approaches you about something that you've never done before, and they're immediately saying, oh gosh, it wouldn't be great if I got that contract. But the reality is, it isn't necessarily something that you've done before. I've taken projects that I've had no experience, and I've always lived to regret it. I don't do it anymore. So as this author says, the best personal brands are very specific and carve out a niche within a niche. And the more specialized and the more you can, you can convey that specialism, the better. So here's this personal brand framework, and I didn't create it. It's a woman called Anna Lundberg, who's an executive coach in the UK. So at the top of the pyramid, she's defined her purpose, and then her core values, which is curiosity, courage, trust in myself, balance, and self-compassion. I don't know whether you can read this. She lists her strengths, her skills, how she can build credibility, and the tangible brand elements. So it's a nice little template to use. And by the way, we'll be sharing the slides afterwards, so you needn't take copious notes. But it's a good framework for you to actually follow and to give that clarity that you often need as a freelancer to take on certain roles and to say no to others. So back to my 10 steps. So being genuine, authentic, authenticity is so important. Tell a compelling story and use digital storytelling techniques. People love stories. They love stories about other people. So turn what it is that you do into a story, and then use the various digital tools that you can have at your disposal to tell that story. Be consistent. It's not about having one branch of you that is all about your personal life and your professional life. The two blend together. So what you do personally should be reflected in what you do professionally. Let others tell the story. So you might have got some feedback in that exercise I mentioned earlier, but really turn that into recommendations, be that on your website and on LinkedIn and so on, because they can be very, very powerful. And when you do a good piece of work with somebody, try and as part of the wind down of the project, ask them, would you be prepared to recommend me? And if so, send them a couple of, maybe send them a template for your website, or send them something that reminds them to put something about this up on LinkedIn. Invest in photography, videography, and possibly a personal website. In the case of Clodagh, we decided to put most of the budget into photography and videography. So she shot 4 in one day. We did one day. She got her hair done, her makeup done, in a studio. We took really good photographs. The photographer and videographer were amazing. She asked, first of all, what was her favorite color, and it was orange. So the photographer went out and sourced various props in orange for the photography. The videography, I was there on the day. I just asked questions, and they were asked, and they were deleted from the final videos. But we created 4 videos and a range of superb photographs, all within one day. And then she created a website, but a very simple website. And when I say possibly a website, because you can do a lot of things without a website if you use LinkedIn effectively. Okay, finally, use the best communications channels, but don't spread yourself too thinly. Often, and I have been that soldier, I've opened up too many channels to manage, but instead I really focus on LinkedIn. I do some stuff on Twitter, and my personal website, it's there for the record. I do blog posts for various people, and I would promote them there, but I host them on other people's sites. Where necessary, I just offer a link to those posts rather than having to republish them because it's too much work. So final few things on LinkedIn, and I just said in the previous slide, learn to love LinkedIn. A lot of independents, in my view, have say to me things like, "Oh, I'm up there on LinkedIn, but I don't use it too much." Get into the habit of using too much, because your audience, the decision makers, the chances are they're on LinkedIn. But also, I just going to say Instagram. If you're it's obviously highly visual, if you're a graphic designer, photographer, or whatever, and you want to showcase your work, Instagram has to be in the mix. So why LinkedIn? First and foremost, if you put a name into Google, the chances are your LinkedIn profile is going to be among the top 3 links on LinkedIn. So most online inquiries start on Google. So you get that bit of Google juice if you promote your site or whatever, your LinkedIn profile. And then just quickly, some of the things to watch out for on LinkedIn: the profile picture, make it professional, have eye contact. The background image is a branding opportunity. So if you're in marketing, or if you're if you're creative, use that background space to convey a key message, or to just give them some cue about what it is you do. The summary field, many people leave this blank, but it's actually really important for us, and particularly the first 120 characters, which is where which displays without the see more. That headline is another important field. It's what's picked up by by search engines, but also within LinkedIn itself. It's where you set up. So LinkedIn is a vital channel, no matter what it is you do, and needs a bit of work, not only to populate your profile, but to engage in some of the topics that are of interest. And it's very easily managed if you have the LinkedIn app on your phone.